Um. Okay. Let me
What was
say.
your honorable mention?
My honorable mention was my last name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Are you about to?
No, go
Did
ahead.
that help you remember?
It did. Go
Dadgummit.
ahead.
This is not one that I originally thought of. Excuse me. Because when I thought of this, I had like seven, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." I can't think of what the other one was, so I'm gonna go with something else that really means a lot. Um, so another top moment, and it's not a specific moment; it's just a time. Um, was when Cottrell finally came around and accepted Brandon, and that was his dad. That was major for me because at first, Cottrell didn't do it for different reasons or whatever. And once he actually had a chance to figure out who Brandon was for him specifically and us as a family, it was like, you can't say anything. That's my dad. Like, and so for me, I feel like um, seeing him actually gravitate to him as like son to father, and for Micah, because that's all Micah has ever known. And so when I think about, like, Micah took to Brandon immediately, all the way down to like stickers on the head, like that was his daddy lion from the very beginning. But when Cottrell finally came around and was like, as hard as it was for a mom who is a single mom to have her child go to her boyfriend and say things that he wouldn't necessarily say to me. As difficult as that was, it was the most heartwarming thing because that to me told me
pause. That was
him.
Crazy. Like I was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Like that was so weird. I don't know why that registered just now. Like clearly I had to be your boyfriend. Like, but that was just to hear you say that. Like to call me your boyfriend.
It was my boyfriend.
It was weird. Like I don't know. That
we weren't engaged or anything, but
yeah.
Cottrell took to him, and I remember a specific time when it was like hard for us as a couple, but Cottrell did this long like post about him being a father and how he taught him so many things. And for me, that was like what I've always wanted for my boys. And so to see them actually be able to have a father figure that was somebody that took time to teach them and talk to them and listen to them, and not just be with me, was most definitely one of my top moments because it's what I prayed for, that I would find somebody that loved my kids the way that I did, and he does, and they love him the same way.
Yeah, all my boys. So, last but not least, and I think one of my other top five, my last top five moment, would be the day after we got married. Here's why. I've taken I have video evidence of this moment. This was the day which tied into her last name thing where she got to change her name on everything, like Social Security, taking care of our marriage license, new driver's license, like the whole nine. And the excitement and like the energy that she had to take on not just her last name as it was her maiden name, but to know that now she was forever connected to me. That like my wife, she smiles, but she like when you know it's good to her when you see all her teeth. Like when you don't see all her teeth, it's like okay. But when you see all of her teeth, like and like she was like super excited, and so for me,
I was so excited that day.
So for me as a man, as a husband, to see your wife that excited about taking on your last name, really it kind of for me was kind of setting a precedent for really how she is now, like just excited to be my wife and like daily. Like it's not just something that happened in that one moment, but it really is like I believe that my wife is excited to be my wife. Even like on the days where it's not so good, like where we don't like each other, you know what I mean? Because that's very real. Like we don't like each other on certain days, but we always love each other. But it's still one of those things that I think maybe helps her to come back when she's in her place of like not liking me. And even for me, like it's one of those places like I know this woman wants to be my wife. So like as much as I may feel some type of way or she may feel some type of way, like we're excited to be each other's spouse. So that's kind of one of the things that like was super dope for me. Was seeing that. Now my honorable mentions. Here we go. So she made me think about something like so. My first honorable mention moment was the first time that I learned Micah talk. So
oh yes, the baby was a baby.
So we first started dating, Micah was like 3 turning 4, and 3-4 year olds like they don't all the way know all of the words in the English language. So you have to do a lot of deciphering. So when I first came into the picture,
he was clueless.
I had no idea what the hell this boy was talking about. Like no idea. Like I can make out certain words, and she'd be my interpreter basically. Like he's saying X, Y, and Z. I'm like okay, because I kind of felt bad. I'm like I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Like I don't know because mind you, I'm a single dude.
Micah was so excited to tell him everything.
I'm a single dude. The kid that I raised, my younger brother, was like 11, 12, you know what I mean? He was self-sufficient basically. So to be around like a toddler, little like borderline baby, borderline little person, like who's still figuring things out, it was like, oh my God, like what are you talking about? Like I want to help you, I want to be engaged, but I just don't know. And then for me to finally get to a point where I understood. And even to a point where I understood better than she did. Yeah. Like, she'd be like, what are you saying? And I'd be like, oh, he's saying X, Y, and Z. So I kind of became the interpreter for the Micah talk because we had built a bond, like, that was super close. And, like, even to this day, like, that's my dude. Like, that's my son. Like, the way that I feel about him is as if, like, I helped to create him. You know what I mean? Like, that's how tight we are. Like, even when he's getting on my nerves and he's annoying and, he's in his weird bag or whatever, I'm still like, okay, like, that's my boy. So, like, that's definitely one of my moments when I understood Micah talk and the whole daddy lion thing.
Yeah. Micah is a very intelligent child. And Micah at 3 would test out names to see how Brandon would react.
Slick. Like,
and if Brandon would say what, he wouldn't say it again. And so he would always do different little things to say daddy, but he wouldn't outright say daddy, right? So I think it just kind of goes to show Mike is he's wise beyond his years. And he was just trying to see.
He was testing my gangster.
He's trying to see if Brandon was going to shake.
Yeah, he was testing my gangster. But it's all good, though. It's all good though because he knows like now like if anything happens like he already knows what time it is like you know what I mean.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, even control too like because I mean I think that moment you remember the moment when the Publix moment.
Yes.
Yeah, the Publix. We're not gonna get. We love you, son.
Yes.
We're so proud of you. As you
Kittrell was young and
venture
he tested
off.
and Brandon stood up and said this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to act and I'm going to show you why. And long story short, he taught Kittrell about responsibility
and respect
and being a man and I think because of that, which is why that was one of my top moments because they've been through some stuff as father and son, and I know I can speak on Kittrell's behalf and say that Kittrell is completely in love with the fact that you're his father. Like, you can't question it. Kittrell will fight you. And that boy, he's a little aggressive, so he would do it.
Like his mama.
Whatever. So here's my last honorable mention. Piggybacking on changing my name back to my maiden name. My dad is one of the pieces of my heart. And, he's my dad, not because he biologically helped me get here, but because he chose for me to be his child. And so I took his last name growing up, and I remember him telling me how excited he was for me to be a Williams again, which is his last name. And so it was kind of twofold because I got to give, it's almost like as an adult, I got to give my dad back what he gave me as a child, carrying his name, but it was through somebody else. And so for me, as excited as I am to have my maiden name back, I'm also excited to be his wife because he gave me my last name back. It's kind of like, it helps me remember my identity. It does. It allows me to be the person.
I was so thinking that, and I didn't want to steal your thunder, but I was like, oh.
It allows me to be the person that I was
before
I became somebody else.
When you really in love, you can think the very thing that the person says.
Very
so like,
true.
Don't be weirded out by that. Like, it's not.
We do it all the time.
We do it all the time. Like,
so really, it allowed me to find my center again. Being married and being a Williams again, it helped me to find my center and remind me of my joy. And it's all kind of encompassed around the name, but it has so many different variables for me. And that's something that I walk with daily. Like, I'm so proud to be a wife. I'm so proud to be his wife. And what I've learned being divorced previously, that there's no better relationship than one with your best friend. And so to know that I actually have what I've always envisioned and what I prayed for is like I've won the lottery. Now, would I really like to win the lottery? Of course. But in life, I've won the lottery. I have my best friend, and even on the days where I cannot stand him, I still love him to pieces, and I wouldn't want to do life without anybody but you. So that's my top 5 plus my little bonuses.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely, man. I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't know.
I mean, it was off the rip because, baby,
I
had stuff planned, and then none of that stuff, except for my wedding and my engagement, were things that I actually stuck to, because those were most definitely top 5, and yeah, so we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, one quick moment. I think this is a period. So, like,